أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي له ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وله الحمد في الآخرة وهو الحكيم الخبير والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث إلى كافة الورى بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته أئمة الهدى ومصابيح الدجى الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد أما بعد فقد قال أمير المؤمنين صلوات الله وسلامه عليه اللهم صل على إن قوما عبدوا الله شكرا فتلك عبادة الأحرار صلوا على محمد وعلى محمد. My respected elders, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. The statement that I quoted just now is from Amir al-Mu'mineen wa Sayyidul Wasiyyin, Imam al-Muttaqeen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullah wa alayhi. And in that tradition, he states the reason for worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala can be different for different people. And he goes on to explain the highest reason for worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is gratitude and shukr. So in the longer version of this tradition that I mentioned a few moments ago, he starts off by explaining the first group. He says that there are a group of people who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of desire for receiving some type of reward in return. And he says that this is the worship of merchants. Because merchants, they engage in a type of trade-off with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that their worship is going to be somehow recompensed with reward. Then he goes on to mention a second group, and he says that there is a group of people who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala out of fear, meaning that they fear the repercussions of not worshipping Him. They fear, for example, the fire of hell. And he says that this worship is the worship of slaves. Because of course slaves are always worried about what will their master do if they disobey him. And then the Imam goes on to mention that part of the tradition which I mentioned at the beginning of this lecture. He says there are those people, and of course he is including himself in this group of people, who worship Allah shukran, out of gratitude and thanks. And he says that this is the worship of the ahrar, those who are free. So inshallah, bearing in mind that tonight we are starting the first majlis out of 3 majalis, where we will be commemorating the great martyrdom of Imam Ali alayhi salam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. I thought that I would devote these majalis to an examination of this great tradition from the Imam himself, and to an examination of what is meant by shukr and gratitude and thanks in Islam. We will start tonight's analysis of this whole topic by attempting to answer the following 3 questions. First of all, what do the Quran and traditions tell us about thanking others? Secondly, who are the most deserving people for our thanks? And then finally, what are the health benefits of leading a life of gratitude? Inshallah, we will begin our analysis with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So with regard to the first question, what do the Quran and traditions tell us about thanking others? Well, our starting point is of course the place where we get all of our blessings from. Where does all of our blessing and bounties originate? It originates from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In Surah Al-Nahl, verse number 53, Allah tells us, وَمَا بِكُم مِّن نِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. Whatever blessings that you have, they are from Allah. So clearly the Quran is telling us where all of our blessings originate from. Now when we look at this, where does the role of other people fit in this aspect and this philosophy of Allah providing us with all of our blessings? Well, for this we can look at a beautiful tradition from none other than Imam Ali ibn Musa Rida salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. In this very famous tradition, which we must all really bear in mind when it comes to thanking Allah, he says, Man lam yashkur al-mun'im min al-makhluqeen lam yashkur Allah azza wa jal. The one who does not thank his human benefactors does not thank Allah azza wa jal. Now, this is a great lesson for us all about thanking others, because the Imam is saying, if you don't thank others who are your human benefactors, you have not thanked Allah. How does this work? Well, as we mentioned, all blessings originate from Allah. But how do those blessings get to you and I? They get to us through channels. They get through us through intermediaries. They get through us through human benefactors. The mun'im min al-makhluqeen, as the Imam says. So this means that other people have acted as agents for those great blessings to come to us. They are doing, in effect, Allah's work. And therefore, if they are the agents of Allah for these blessings to get to us, we must thank them. The converse is true as well. If we don't thank our human benefactors, then it is as if we have not thanked Allah. If we thank our human benefactors, it is as if we have thanked Allah. Because they are these channels and intermediaries and agents through which we receive those blessings from Allah in the first place. So once we have appreciated this, now we can see a bit further how this all works in Allah's system of divine gratitude towards Him. Now, in another tradition we are told, this time by Imam Zainul Abidin As-Sajjad salawatullah wa alayhi. He says that on the day of resurrection, now this is something we must all bear in mind. On the day of resurrection, how are we going to be? Are we going to be able to answer Allah when He asks us this or not? He says on that day, Allah will ask His servant, did you thank so and so? This servant will reply that, oh Allah, no, I didn't thank this person, but I thanked you instead. What will be the reply of Allah? Allah Azza wa Jal will reply that you have not thanked me until you have thanked Him. So this also is telling us the importance of thanking others. And then he goes on to say that the most thankful to Allah is the one who is most thankful to people. So now let's reflect, how are we? Are we thanking our human benefactors or not? Do we sometimes think that, well, perhaps what they have done is too little for us to thank them? That would be a real injustice. Because no matter how little or big they have benefited us in some way, they have acted as that agent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore, sometimes we also think that actually, I'm a little bit too high to thank so and so. That would be an even greater sin, because not only are we not thanking the other person, but we are exhibiting an arrogance which Allah hates. That we are perhaps too high to thank that person for this thing. We might be lowered, it might demean us somehow. But according to these traditions, we should thank always our human benefactors, let's inshallah make it a point this evening. Once we finish from here, let's make it a point to draw a very short list, a quick list perhaps, of a few people who we should thank. Really, they have benefited us a lot. And in fact, if we keep on doing this, our list, we will see, it is getting longer and longer and longer. Because it's not just for those big things, it's also for all those middle-sized things and for those little things as well. Why not just thank everyone who has benefited us in one way or the other? Then we will be able to answer Allah on the Day of Judgment when He asks us, did you thank so-and-so? We'll be able to say, yes, Allah, we did thank so-and-so, and therefore we have thanked you as well. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Let's now move on to the second question, and that is, who are the people who are most deserving of our thanks? And then inshallah, we will gradually link this to that statement of that person who we have gathered here tonight to honor. And we will see what he tells us about thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the answer is, of course, what we all know. But let's reflect on this great night. Are we actually doing that in practice? And that is our parents. Our parents deserve our thanks the most. These are not my words. These are the words of the teaching of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt. In Surah Luqman, verse number 14, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us an amazing verse. This is something that we should spend a few moments analyzing. It's not a very long verse, but there are so many important points of tarbiyah for us. He starts off by saying, وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ, and we advised insan. Now, I will come back to this word in a few moments' time. Why does he describe this advice to insan? He doesn't say to the believers. He doesn't say to people, to the muttaqeen, to the muslimin. He uses the word insan for a particular reason. But let me finish the verse first, and then I'll come back to these salient points. He says that we have advised insan to do certain things towards their parents. Biwalidayn. Now, he actually mentions something else. Again, this is a very important point for us to mention, which we'll come back to. He says, وَحَمَلْتُهُ أُمُّهُ وَحْنًا عَلَى وَحْنٍ. So he's just mentioned that he's advising insan with regards to his parents. But then, who does he mention straight after that? He talks about the mother. So before he says waliday, father and mother. Now immediately he goes on to mention the time when the mother was giving birth. He says his mother carried him wahnan ala wahan, weakness after weakness, wa fisaluhu fi amain, and that weaning period is of 2 years. So we might be asking ourselves, oh Allah, you started off saying we advise insan with regard to his parents. Now you are talking about the mother and about the period when the mother was pregnant and how long the weaning period should be. What is the connection here? Again, we'll come back to this. Let's finish the verse. Then he goes on to say, what does he advise every insan with regards to their parent? Anishkur li wali walidayk. That to be grateful to me and to your parents. Question: why has Allah said to me and to your parents? Then he goes on to say, Ilayya al-masir, and the return is to me. A short verse, but look how many points we can get when we do tadabbur. Like I was saying all along in these lectures, we must use the Quran in this holy month to gain our worth and increase in our value, to incorporate the Quran in our being. Just like the holy month of Ramadan increased its value by receiving the Quran in its receptacle. So, Let's do a little bit of tadabbur over this one verse. At the beginning, he says that, and we advise insan. Why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala use the word insan? Perhaps it's because what Allah is trying to tell us is that thanking one's parents is part of our insaniyah. This means if we are not grateful to our parents, Allah doesn't even regard us as being a human being. وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ. Let's think about this. How grateful are we to our parents? Can we even say that we fall within the bracket of insaniyah? Can we even call ourselves human beings? For Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is describing this to be a key quality of all human beings. It's like He's saying, this shukr for your parents is part of your nature. If you do not do shukr to your parents, you are rebelling against your own nature. If you rebel against your own nature, you might as well not call yourself insan. All insaniyah has been embedded with this teaching and with this instinct and with this nature of being thankful to their parents. So this is the first point. Now, secondly, he goes on to mention the mother. Why the mother? وَوَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ, his parents. And then he says that the mother carried him, and after weakness, and the weaning period is 2 years. Perhaps we could say it's because there is a special mention for the mother. Because the mother has the greater role in our tarbiyah, has the greater role in our development. Not that the father is not important. Not that the father is not mentioned in these teachings of ours in other places to a high level as well. No, that is there. But in this particular verse, Allah wants to give extra importance to the mother. Perhaps we can say because of her special role in the tarbiyah of children. So we must have an extra special thanks for our mothers. So, look at some of the things that we have with regards to our mothers. Just very quickly. There was a person who came to Rasulul Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this person, he had done tawaf. But you know how he did tawaf? He did tawaf while carrying his old and fragile mother on his back. He comes to Rasulullah and he says that, O Messenger of Allah, have I paid back the right of her that's on my shoulders? Those of you who have been for Hajj, you will know it is not easy to go for Hajj. It's not easy to do the tawaf, let alone doing it with your mother on your back. So he says, O Rasulullah, have I fulfilled the right of my mother that's on my shoulders by doing this? You know what Rasulullah replies to him? He says that you have not even repaid one of her moans. One of her moans when she was giving birth to you. You have not even repaid her to that extent. So mu'mineen, on this blessed night, let's reflect. Have we done justice to our parents? Are we doing justice to our parents or not? And then I'll give you some, inshallah, advice as to if we feel we haven't, how can we, inshallah, make this up? But let's finish the analysis of this verse. So then he goes on to talk about Anishkur li wa liwalidayk. If we needed even more emphasis on being thankful to our parents, he says, let's link it with the beginning part of this verse. And we have advised insan with regards to his parents to thank me and your parents. Allahu Akbar. What is happening here? Allah is placing the obligation to thank parents next to the obligation to thank Him Himself. Next to each other. This is the importance of thanking parents. Anishkur li wali waliday, next to each other. And then he goes on to say, Ilayya al-masir, and the return is to me. So we have this amazing change in perspective. He says we advise insan with regards to his parents. Then he talks about the mother. So you change from insan, parents, mother, then thank me, then thank your parents, and then he goes back to me. What an amazing verse. Constantly changing who is being addressed, who should do what, in order for us to ponder over all of these subtle changes and intricacies in this verse, so that we gain the most out of them. Now, let's have a look at this with regards to thanking our parents. Well, inshallah, if our parents are still alive and we are able to thank them verbally, then let's do that. Let's make a firm commitment on this evening to thank our parents if they are with us. And the best way to thank them is not just verbally, but in practice. For them, it's not so much that they hear us say, thank you mother, thank you father. It's our actions. Are we good to them and to others? This is what really matters to parents. So the best way of thanking them is through action, by being kind, by being good to them, by being respectful to them and to others, to lead a life of true mu'mineen. This would be the best thanks, for this would come back to them. And so, if our parents are not alive, those of us who have lost our parents and we feel that really we haven't done justice to them, or we tried our best but really we can never do justice to them, like Rasulullah said to that man when he asked him, has he done justice and repaid that right of his mother? And he said, no, not even to the extent of that one moan when she was giving birth. What can we do here? Well, we can certainly donate and gift many or all of our mustahab acts to our parents as well. I mentioned this last night, how we can donate our mustahab acts, the thawab of them, to the Imam of the time, Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, Ajalallahu ta'ala Farajul Sharif. And I said that we can also include others in this donation. We can include the Imam, all the Imams, all the Prophets, all the Shuhada, all the Ulama, all the Marhumeen, and of course our parents. When we do this, inshallah, they will benefit. And the better we are in our person, in our character, the more they will benefit. So by us becoming better human beings, we will be doing that shukr even if they have left us. In fact, we are told this is a form of thawab or sadaqah jariyah. A sadaqah jariyah is a charity that has ongoing effect. So for our parents, when they bring up righteous children, their children are like seeds that are planted in the ground that flourish and continuously grow and become more and more beautiful and benefit them even after death. So even those of us who feel that now that we have lost our parents, how are we supposed to thank them? The remorse, the regret kicks in. Really, this is telling us it's never too late. Let's inshallah thank our parents by being good to them and to others as much as we can while they are with us. But those of us who have lost our parents, let's inshallah gift them through our good character and by donating the mustahab acts to them and to all the other people that I have mentioned. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So now, when we look at this verse, we see all of these great benefits. But now, let's link it to that person who we have gathered here tonight to commemorate that tragic event in Kufa on this evening. When we talk about thanking parents, and we said that they deserve our thanks more than any other people. Well, they are, of course, our biological parents. And we thank them for everything we have, for our physical existence. But we are told in the tradition that we also have spiritual parents. And therefore, it is incumbent on us to thank our biological parents for our physical being and our physical existence, we must also thank our spiritual parents for our spiritual being and our spiritual existence. Who are our spiritual parents? Rasulullah Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells us in the tradition who our spiritual parents are. He says, Ana wa aliyun abawa hadhihi al-ummah. He says that I and Ali are the fathers of this nation. What type of fathers? Not biological parents, of course, but they are our fathers in the spiritual sense. Because without the Prophet, without Imam Ali alayhi salam, where would we be today? We would have no spiritual life, just like we would have no physical life if we didn't have our biological parents. We would not even be here in this center and gathering, wearing black clothes and crying and mourning for the loss of our spiritual father. And therefore we must thank them as well. But ultimately, the being that deserves our thanks the most is of course Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is where the whole concept of thanks comes in, and that tradition I mentioned at the beginning of this majlis, where Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib sallallahu wa sallam alayhi says that there is a group of people who worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shukran for tilka ibadatul ahram. They worship out of thanks for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the worship of those who are free. So we need to worship Allah not because of reward, not because of fear of punishment, but out of thanks, because He deserves to be worshipped. And look at the tradition. Not thanks of what Allah has given us and will give us. No, thanks because of who Allah is. This is remarkable. Shukran, because of thanks to Allah. So let's make this an action point for us as well, of thanking Allah. Yes, we all thank Allah, it's a given. It goes without saying that we must thank Allah for all the blessings that He's given us. But we must thank Allah for being Allah, for being the perfect, absolute being there is, for the perfection that He is. Let's thank Him for being Himself. This is the status of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib sallallahu alayhi. So now let's look at the third and final question before we go to Kufa with our hearts, inshallah. And that question was, what are the health benefits of leading a life of gratitude? Now, of course, the doctors amongst us will know better about the health benefits, but through the research I've done, I came across 4 different studies that have been done with regards to the health benefits of leading a life of gratitude. Not only do the traditions tell us about the advantages, but also modern science has told us the same thing. So, with regards to these studies, we are told that there is an overwhelming verdict that having a life of gratitude has really positive repercussions on our mental and our physical health. For example, one study showed that those who are more grateful, they are happier and they visit the doctor less. Where's the connection? Well, what happened was, they did a study. They divided a group of people into 2. With one group, they assigned to them to write down for 1 week all of those things that they are grateful for. So that's one group. And another group, they assigned to them this task, that write down all those things that irritate you, all those things that make you unhappy. They found that those who were writing positively and in a very grateful manner about all those things that they were thankful for, they had more optimism, they had a more positive outlook on life, and they visit their doctor much less. They had fewer visits to their doctor. They also found that they exercised more and they looked after themselves much more. Perhaps it's because when somebody leads a life of thankfulness, they are also thankful about their own bodies. They appreciate what they have even more, even physically and mentally. And therefore, perhaps this is why they would exercise more and look after their own bodies more. Second study. Did you know that if you lead a life of gratitude, you will sleep better? This was shown in a study of 401 people. 40% of these people had been diagnosed with a clinical sleeping disorder. So they were diagnosed with having problems in their sleep, 40%. But what they found was that those who were more grateful in their daily lives, they were able to sleep much better. They had a better quality of sleep. And so the next day, they had more energy in their lives. And so they were able to do much more. So what this is telling us is that they found actually that there's a connection between what was happening in the daytime and their sleep. And that was linked to the fact that before they slept, they had positive thoughts. They were grateful of their blessings and bounties. So what this is telling us is that when we go to sleep, we shouldn't go to sleep with negativity, with feelings of ungratefulness, about thinking negatively about that person, about this, what happened at work, or what's happening at college, at school, with our friends. I came across this beautiful saying. You know, usually they say that when you want to try and fall asleep, count sheep, isn't it? And then you'll nod off to sleep. This saying said that count blessings, not sheep. This is how it should be. Before we sleep, let's count our blessings, and inshallah, we will have a better quality sleep, we will have a better day as a result. Imam Jafar al-Sadiq, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, he gives us brilliant advice. He says that before sleeping, these are some of the things that we can do very easily to have that positive feeling before we go to sleep and be more grateful of Allah's blessing. He says that the one who performs wudu, very simple thing, go to sleep with wudu, his sleep and his bed will be a masjid for him. So the one who performs wudu before sleeping, his sleep and his bed will be a masjid for him. Rasulullah Akram sallallahu alayhi wa sallam tells us also a very practical piece of advice that we can do before sleeping. He says that the one who recites Qul Huwallahu Ahad, the Surah Al-Ikhlas, before going to bed, Allah will erase for him 50 years of sins. He will forgive for him all of those sins, 50 years worth. So these are just some practical things that we can do before sleeping, inshallah. A third survey with regard to the health benefits of leading a life of gratitude, that showed that stress is reduced. When we are grateful, they found that 23% decrease in cortisol was found in people who were trained to be more grateful. So they trained people, they measured their cortisol levels. Cortisol is that predominant stress hormone. And they found that before and after training to be grateful, there was a difference. A 23% decrease in their cortisol levels. Less stress. And then fourth and finally, they found in another study that blood pressure is reduced and you have better health of your heart when you are more grateful. So they found that those who are more grateful, they are more thankful for their blessings, they have a 16% lower level of blood pressure. they also found that those who are more grateful, they intake less fat into their diet. It has so many implications and repercussions in all aspects of life. Exercise, sleep, stress, work, even on our diets. They found that they have less fat intake into their diets and they have less cholesterol levels as a result. So you see, my brothers and sisters, these are all the amazing benefits of leading a life of gratitude. In fact, they found those who led a life where they were keeping these gratitude journals, they had these significant benefits the most. So, what are these gratitude journals? This is something that I would recommend everyone does if they are not doing it already. It's a very simple thing. It can be in a written format with a traditional way. It can be electronically on your mobile, on your computer, on your tablet. And that is just to make a note of 5 things during the day that you are grateful for. It could be whatever that comes to your mind that you are grateful for. It could be a small thing. Perhaps during iftar, something that you ate. There were some things that we ate last night which we all loved, and I was discussing it with someone as to who made it and how it was made and this and that. It could be just that this item could be a simple tomato, could be a simple cucumber. Have we ever appreciated the taste of a fresh tomato or a cucumber? Something simple like that. Make a note of it. Another 4 things, you will realize that there are so many blessings. You will think that 5 are not enough. You will keep on adding. This will enable us to have a much more positive outlook on life. We will release so much negativity. We will be happier. We'll have all those health benefits. And we will appreciate Allah's blessings on us even more. As a summary, before we mention a few words of Masa'ib, tonight we looked at these 3 questions. First of all, what do the Quran and traditions tell us about thanking others? And we said that they effectively tell us that all blessings are from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we don't thank our human benefactors who are the agents and the channels of Allah's blessings, then it is as if we haven't thanked Allah. We must thank others for big blessings that they have conferred on us and small things. If we do that, then we will be thanking Allah. The most deserving people, we ask ourselves, who are the most deserving people to thank? They are, of course, our parents. We learn this in Surah Luqman verse 14 with all those points that we analyzed. Not just our physical parents, but also our spiritual parents. The Prophet, Mawla Amir, and the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. For just as our physical parents, we are grateful to them for our physical being, we must also be thankful to our spiritual parents for our spiritual being. And then we looked at these amazing health benefits of being grateful. Happier lives, lives with less stress, less frequent visits to doctors, better sleep, lower cholesterol levels, lower levels of blood pressure, and we can certainly do this by keeping a gratitude journal, inshallah. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Sallallahu alayka ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Sallallahu alayka ya Sayyid al-Wasiyin. Sallallahu alayka ya Imam al-Muttaqeen. Tonight, let's go to Kufa with our hearts. At the beginning of Ramadan, Amir al-Mu'mineen would spend each evening with his children. One evening he would be with Imam Hassan alayhi salam. One evening with Imam Hussein alayhi salam. One evening with Lady Zainab alayhi salam. On the night of the 19th of Ramadan, he was with his daughter Kulthum. At the time of iftar, he would only have 3 mouthfuls of food. And when he was asked about this, he would reply that I would prefer to meet my Lord with an empty stomach. On the night of the 19th, he turns to his daughter Kulthum and he says that there is little time that I will be with you now, my daughter. She says to him, oh my father, why do you say that? And he says that I saw Rasulullah in my dream. And in my dream, he was wiping away the dust from my face. And he told me that do not have any concern, O Ali, for you have done what was on your shoulders. So now Kulthum begins to cry and she begins to wail. Imam Ali says to her that don't cry, for Rasulullah, I see him pointing to me and he's calling me towards him. He's saying, come to us, O Ali, for with us is better than what you have here. On the night of the 19th of Ramadan, Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen, he doesn't go to sleep at all. He stays up. He goes out frequently to the courtyard. He looks to the sky and he says, by Allah, I have not lied and I have not been lied to. This is the promised night for me. And now Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen makes his way to Masjid al-Kufa to recite the Jama'ah prayers as was his habit. As he goes out, he goes into the courtyard. There are some geese. The geese there starts walking, Mu'mineen. It's as if even the animals realize the status of Imam Ali. It is as if the geese were telling him, oh Mawla, don't go to Masjid al-Kufa tonight. Stay with us one more night. The people, they try to drive the geese away. But Amir al-Mu'mineen says, no, leave them alone, for they are wailing my martyrdom. Now Imam Ali goes to Masjid al-Kufa. As he approaches there, he passes by the accursed Abdul Rahman ibn Muljam al-Muradi, who was asleep. He wakes him up for Fajr prayers. Just imagine, Mawla Amir wants everyone just to perform their duties to Allah. He wakes him up. Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen now recites the Adhan. Mu'mineen, it will be the last time the people of Kufa hear the Adhan of Ali. After he recites the Adhan, he makes his way to the Mihrab. He begins the Nafila prayer. He recites first of all the first Ruku. He goes into now the first Sajda. He recites the dhikr of the first Sajda. But before I go on, Mu'mineen, let me mention 2 points. You know that first of all, nobody could attack Imam Ali from the front, because whenever they would try to attack him from the front, he would kill them. And secondly, Mu'mineen, you know that when somebody is thrusting their sword downwards, if the person who they are striking is moving upwards, that blow has an even greater impact. This is what happened to Mawla Amir al-Mu'mineen. After he finished the second dhikr of sajda, he raises his head up. At that time, the accursed Ibn Muljam strikes his sword downwards onto the head of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He splits it open. At that time, Imam Ali, he says these famous words which are etched in history. Fustu wa Rabbil Kaaba. By the Lord of the Kaaba, I have been successful. But Mu'mineen, let's now digress for a few moments and see what happened 21 years later on the day of Ashura. Because they did something that was very similar. They, in a similar cowardly way, also attacked the head of Imam Ali's 2 sons on the plains of Karbala. First of all, Abul Fazl al-Abbas, after they had cut off his arms and he was on the horse, then he fell off the horse, but without any arms he was unable to support himself as he hit the ground. Then the arrow struck him in the chest, an arrow struck him in the eye. But then they did what they did to his father. They grabbed a pole and they struck over his head with the pole. His head was split open. Imam Ali said, Fustu Rabbil Kaaba. Do you know what Abu Fazl Abbas said when he was struck over the head? He says, Alayka minni salam, Aba Abdullah.
But the other son, who was also struck on the day of Ashura, was of course Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He was struck not once but 3 times on the head. The first time, when he was just standing there, an arrow struck him in the forehead. He pulled it out. As he did so, all the blood rushed onto the face and onto the holy beard of Imam Hussein. He says, by Allah, you see what condition I am in. The second time he was standing and a stone hit him on his forehead. And the third time, the cowards, they struck over his head with their sword. Now let's go back to Kufa. Imam Ali, he's in Masjid Kufa. He's in the mihrab. Oh, the blood is over his face and over his beard. I say, Ya Rasulullah, Imam Ali saw you wiping the dust from his face. If only the people were now wiping the dust from his face. They are wiping something else from his face. But now there are 2 cries that I heard in Kufa. 2 cries, one from the heavens and one from the street. The one from the heaven was from Jibreel. Tahaddamat wallahi arkanul huda. By Allah, the pillars of guidance have been torn down. And the one from the street were from the people. Qutila amirul mu'minin.
Oh Allah, by the right of Amir al-Mu'mineen, by the right of this night, we ask you to protect our Imam and to hasten his appearance. Oh Allah, bring relief to all those in difficult situations. Oh Allah, forgive us and our forefathers for our sins. Oh Allah, enable us to live and die with the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Oh Allah, enable us to lead lives of gratitude, and oh Allah, enable us to always perform our duties towards you in the best possible way.
इब्ने मुल्जिम ने हैदर को मारा, इब्ने मुल्जिम ने हैदर को मारा, रोजेदारो क़यामत के दिन है, इब्ने मुल्जिम ने हैदर को मारा, रोजेदारो क़यामत के दिन है, तुमसे छूटता है मौला हमारा, तुमसे छूटता है मौला हमारा, रोजेदारो क़यामत के दिन है, सुनी खबरे रसूल खुदा है, घर में ज़हरा के आँखों बुका है, आग उड़ाता है दर का कुनबा, आग उड़ाता है दर का कुनबा, रोज़ेदारो क़यामत के दिन आले अहमद पे आफत है आई, बेकसों पर यतीमी है छाई, उड़ गया सर से है दर का साया, उड़ गया सर से है दर का साया, रोज़ेदारो क़यामत के दिन क्यों ना रोए, ये वो गम नहीं है, शबे आशूर से कम नहीं है, क्यों ना रोए, ये वो गम नहीं है, शबे आशूर से कम नहीं है,
मातम है बरपा, खुद में भी ये मातम है बरपा। रोज़गारों क़यामत के दिन घर में खालिक के हैदर को मारा, जानशीन पैगंबर को मारा। घर में खालिक के हैदर को मारा, जानशीन पैगंबर को मारा। आए मस्जिद में सरवर को मारा, आए मस्जिद में सरवर को मारा। रोज़गारों क़यामत के दिन दिल हिलाते हैं ज़ैनब के नाले, खाक उड़ाते हैं सब खुदने वाले। उठ रहा है अली का जनाजा, उठ रहा है अली का जनाजा। रोज़गारों क़यामत के दिन है, इब्ने मुल्जिम ने हैदर को मारा। रोज़गारों क़यामत के दिन
भैया खुदा के शेर की सूए नजफ चली, हर सिमत एक शोर है, हर सिमत एक शोर है। मौला अली अली भैया खुदा के शेर की हुए नजफ चली, मैया खुदा के शेर की हुए नजफ चली। शहजादे शाहजादियाँ काबा को रोते हैं, अपने वली को खल्क के मौला को रोते हैं। ज़हरा के घर में कैसी मुसीबत ये आ गई, मैया खुदा के शेर की हुए नजफ चली, मैया खुदा के शेर की हुए नजफ चली। दीवारों दर है नौहकुना शहर सोगवार, घर को भटकते जाते हैं मौला से जानिसार। टिकते बेज़हर बार ने दुनिया उजाड़ दी, भैया खुदा के शेर की हुए नजफ चली, भैया खुदा के शेर की हुए नजफ चली। मज़लूमियत का हक़ का मददगार मर गया, बेवाओं का यतीम का गमख़ार मर गया। मुश्किल कुशा जुदा हुआ, मुश्किल से आ पड़ी, मैया खुदा के शेर की हुए नजफ चली, मैया खुदा के शेर की Say
عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين وابن سيد الوصيين. السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين. السلام عليكم سائر شهداء كربلاء خصوصا سيدي مولاي أبو الفضل العباس يا ابن أمير المؤمنين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا غريب الغرباء. السلام عليك يا معين الضعفاء والفقراء. السلام عليك يا سلطان يا أبا الحسن يا علي بن موسى يا رضا. السلام عليك ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا صاحب العصر والزمان. السلام عليك يا شريك القرآن. السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله تعالى مخرجك وظهورك. السلام عليك وعلى آبائك الطيبين الطاهرين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Brothers and sisters, quick reminder, inshallah, Majlis starts at 7:15 with Quran recitation, 7:30 Marsiya, and Maulana starts his Majlis at 7:45. So please, to be on time, and we also have Amal tomorrow night at 10 o'clock for the night of 21st of Ramadan. And also remember, please make donations for the Ramadan fund. Thank you.